Hello, my name is Mary Catherine and welcome to my own little house. Today is the sewing video for those of you who love to sew, and we'll be making a little pouch project bag. It's like the perfect project bag, but I've never made one before. I've never made this pattern before. So let's see if I can make it work. It's time for some more scrappy sewing. I found a pattern for a project bag that I really want to make, and if I like it, I'm going to make a bunch for myself, and if I really like it, I'll make some to take to the market. So I will also share a link up there to the YouTube video that's the tutorial that I followed, and I'll put it in the description below. Just starting out. It's about 20 inches wide. Oh, and I don't know, probably 18 inches tall. Now, I don't want stripes. I think I don't want stripes. Boy, that does look good on the camera though, doesn't it? It's hard to say. Do I want to leave it like that, or do I want to chop it up and make more of a blocky pattern? I don't know. I think I've decided to chop it up a bit. I've got the width correct, but I have lots of extra height, and so, inches, and so I've got plenty left over for seam allowances and such to, I think I'm just going to use the width of this ruler. And anyway, I have plenty of fabric that I've made to allow for me to piece this together. See, I can make it look more like something like that, although that still lines up, but we're going to mix them and match them. Here's my little cheat sheet. I need 2 pieces of lining and 2 pieces of outer fabric. The height of all the pieces has to be 10.75 inches, and the width has to be 10 inches on all the pieces. Okie dokie. So, getting so excited. All right, so these 2 panels here that I have made, you see how I've pieced them together. Oh, I need to go back and do my top stitching here, but they are almost exactly 10 inches wide. And then I've got a bit extra. Let me see. It's a little bit over 11 inches tall, and I only need it to be 10.75. So this gives me some extra room to really trim up these edges. This one's a little wonky. So I'm going to trim those up so they're exactly 10.75. And you see I've got leftover fabric. This will be for the next one. Yeah, this is super exciting, and this is already pieced and ironed, so that gets me a little bit ahead. Okay, so these are my 2 primary pieces. Now I need to go find some lining fabric. Okay, so after digging through my fabric drawers, I realized that a lot of my fabric pieces are very small, and many of them are rather dark, and they just wouldn't have gone well with this, some really dark floral. So anyway, I found this. I love this. I love kind of old English roses. Isn't that beautiful? Matter of fact, it's so pretty. At first I was like, oh, I don't want to use it. Now, why is that? I don't know. Why are we perverse like that? So anyway, but I decided I would use it, and I've cut it to the right size. Let me see, that's the height. So it's this way. Yeah. So, when the bag is finished, you'll have a little overlap. I love the overlap on this bag. The lining folds over if you want it to. on the bag when you open it up, and it'll look like that, which I think will be pretty. Okay, so now I have to do a little bit of marking. I have to mark a spot on the liner for turning the bag. I loved watching this video last night, the tutorial on YouTube, because it's so brilliant, and it's the kind of counterintuitive stuff I would never figure out myself, ever. So put those sides right sides together, and I'm going to use my little bit of tailor's chalk to mark some little openings at the top of the outside fabric for the drawstring. So we can put that in there, and then I'll be ready to start sewing. Now I want to show you these markings. The space here at the top above the first mark is a 1/2 inch or 4/8. The distance between the two marks is 5/8, so just a teeny bit more. And if you used to sew with all those 5/8 of an inch seam allowance back in the old days, that's what that is. And this is the space you're going to leave open, unstitched, so that later the drawstring can pass through it. Okay. And I've done the same on the other side, and I've marked it just in case. I've marked it on the underneath fabric as well. I've put right sides together so I can go sew. I'm going to sew both sides all the way down, make this a tube, but I'm going to leave that open and that open. Now, as far as the lining, I've sewn it as well into a tube. This is open, the bottom is open, but I've left this a nice gap here so that I can turn this after I put it all together. Now I'm on the second side of my fabric. I'm coming up on my first little mark there, if you can see it. We'll stop there, and then we'll just do this little bit at the end. Okay, now the next thing I'm going to do, which is really the fun part, is make this pleated flat bottom. Okay, so I've got these two tubes, and maybe I should do the lining. It's a little easier to see. So here's my lining tube, and I've got a seam here and a seam on the other side with the opening. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to line up these seams together. I could press them. I looked on the video to see if she pressed them, and she didn't, but that might be a good thing to do. So we're going to get them all lined up in halvesies like that, and then we're going to just really maybe use a pair of scissors here to give a nice finger press crease over here on either side. Okay, did that work? Yeah, it's got a little bit of a crease. Okay, I have to do that on this one as well, and it might be a little harder to see it with all the busyness going on. It's going to be on that piece right there, and the corresponding color over here. Those creases are important. Okie dokie. Now the next thing I'm going to do is take this to my sewing machine, put these little finger presses together right here, and make sure they're lined up really perfectly. And then I'm just going to sew a little 3/8 of an inch long little teeny seam right here to join these two. And I'm going to do the same thing here, right there. Just a little teeny short seam. Just like that. Make sure that you're doing it on the bottom of your bag, and you can tell because this is, see those little openings there for the drawstring, so this is the top. I almost did this on the wrong end of my bag. Okay, so here is the fun part, really interesting counterintuitive part, where you've got the, look at the bottom of this. It's so funky looking. Now you're going to line up all of these little seams like this, open these out if you can. I'm all thumbs when it comes to doing that. Line this one up. You're going to do this also on the outside fabric. Okay, so I'm going to line all those up really well. Clip that shut. And then I'm going to sew right here 3/8 of an inch across the bottom. Yep, okay, and we're going to do the same on the outside fabric. Some of you may have done these kind of box pleats before, but I have not. All right, so here I'm going to clip this one too, and then I'm going to sew along here 3/8 of an inch seam. Okay, here's what this looks like. It's got this kind of strange bottom. It's been a very, very rainy week. Thank you, Tropical Storm Debbie. A little bit damp. A few branches down. But really nothing very bad at all. This is pretty normal for us. The grass is very soggy. Now everything will have to dry out, including my chickens. Now wasn't that a strange little maneuver? So here we are. It's almost like we have two inside-out brown paper lunch bags, if you know what I mean. It's kind of what they look like. Okay, so we're going to turn this one right side out, okay, because obviously at some point we want things to be right sides together. And I'm going to insert this into this and make sure that the side seams line up. That is the goal. So I better get some clips. Now it doesn't really look like this. This kind of looks like the side, but our seams are actually running here on this part. Okay, so now I've got the two seamed points. So I think I'll do one in between. And if you measured carefully, it should all line up perfectly. All right, let's see what we're going to do next. I think we're going to enclose the top, and then I think we're going to turn it. Now I am going to go sew all the way around this top. Oh, I didn't do a good job on that one. Not leave any gaps. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch seam allowance because I want to make sure that it matches up. You can still see that mark right there, okay? I'm going to leave this open. This has been left open, and for the passing of the drawstring, so I want to make sure that I don't do a 3/8. I'm going to do a 1/2 inch. Okay, so I sewed that seam all the way around the top. Very nice, 1/2 inch. And it lined up just perfectly with these markers that I had left. So you can still see that opening there? And on this side, where'd it go? There it is. There's the opening for the drawstring. And then also, somewhere in here, I've got the opening for when I turn it. However, However, now is the time that we do something that is so counterintuitive that my little non-mathematical brain just does not understand. We're going to pull it open like this, get it nice and straight, line up our two ends, and yes, we are going to sew across the bottom. And when I saw her do this on the video, I was like, well, that makes no sense, and you are now sewing your thing closed. You'll never get it open again. Does that make any sense to you? It makes no sense to me, but then I was never a mathy person. Okay, so I'm going to go do that, and we'll see what happens next. I almost wonder if I should call this the magic bag, because look at it. Oh my goodness, it looks terrible. How can this be a cute little project bag? However, here's the little opening. I'm going to reach in there. I'm going to start pulling. I'm going to keep pulling until I pull all of it, both the liner and the outside fabric, all the way through that opening. So I will say, if you're watching this before you do this project, make sure that you leave an opening. I think they said 5 centimeters, however, how much that is. Is that 2 inches? I think that's 2 inches. Is that right? So yeah, maybe a 2-inch gap. This is big enough to get stuff through, everything through, but not be a huge hole. You are going to machine stitch that opening closed afterward. You don't have to do it by hand. I'm not a hand stitcher, never have been. Adam loves to hand stitch. I think he could make a whole garment with hand stitching and be very happy. Just makes my fingers hurt. Okay, and I panicked because I was like, wait, I can't pull anymore. Of course, you're not supposed to pull anymore. You're supposed to get it in there. Ha, look at that. Oh my goodness. I got some little, what do they call it on the Great British Sewing Bee? Some whiskers. Look, look. And it's got a nice flat bottom so that when you got your yarn and your circular needles or whatever in there, it'll sit on its bottom. I really wanted a bag that was did have a bottom like this, as opposed to one that that was just a straight side and a straight bottom. I just really prefer this. Okay, so I'm going to go over to my sewing machine and I'm going to just put a little teeny row of stitching on the edge of that to close that up. Then I think I don't think I've got any drawstring. Let's look at that bottom. Isn't that fun? I haven't really, need to press it or something to get it to behave a little better. This is my first run through. Maybe I need to open it up more. I want to make a bunch of these. There's the little opening for the drawstring. It needs to be something pretty thin. And then you can run yourself a top stitching edge around here. I'll bring you back in for the drawstring portion. I like that so much. And I ended up really with 2 rows of the patchwork here, and the 3rd row was the bottom. Interesting. Very interesting. I didn't plan that. That's okay. I'm trying to decide what to use for my pull string, my drawstring. I think I have 2 choices. I can use either yarn, and here's some nice chunky acrylic. Well, no, what is this? This might be wool. Boy, it doesn't feel like wool. It's lovely. See, I get so distracted with yarn because it says 90% Peruvian Highland, 10% Donegal tweed. Doesn't that sound like natural fibers? Look at it. Oh, so soft. It's just the one skein. I think, Lori, this might be one you sent me, but it's just so nice and sturdy. And I think the color would go well with this and also with the roses on the inside. But I've got a whole basket full of ribbon. All right, I'll get back to you. I think I'm probably going to go with the yarn, though. I like that better. All right, you're just going to have to listen to that wonderful thunder outside while I do this work. Now, I decided on this very beautiful yarn. And I have this needle. It's a large-eyed needle. I have a lot of these ones that are blunt tip. They're tapestry needles, and I have different needles. This one I've never used because I could not figure out what in the world it could be used for. Look at this thing. It's got a nice big eye on one end, but it's got a ball on the other. What are you supposed to do with that? Oh, sorry about that. Well, anyway, I thought this is the perfect situation to use this, because how easy would it be to thread this through the little channel that is in there, the little hole. All right, so I'm going to thread this through. The way that this drawstring works, you have 2 strings. Okie dokie. Well, I did go and run a seam here to make that casing. Now, I've got my little hole on either side. There's one. Here's the other. Now, how this works on this kind of drawstring, this is for those of you who, like me, have little Pooh Bear brains that really don't understand geometry and all, you know, that kind of thing. You want to think of it as this one. You have the 2 ends on this side, and the second drawstring has its two ends on the other end. Okay, so I know some of you are rolling your eyes thinking, she's such an idiot. But this is just how, oh dear, and I've got so many, oh, got so many seams in there. Oh my goodness. All right, this may take me forever to shove my way through. Oh my word. If I didn't have all this patchwork stuff, it wouldn't be hard. Okay, so I'm going to put this in and I'll show you later. Okay, so this was tricky, but I think I might have mastered it. We'll see. You can watch and see if I did. I'm using that little needle with the ball on the end. It works fine as long as I kind of press it against the lining, because there's no funky seams over there like I have here. Okay. But when you get to this opening, oh my goodness, it's very hard for that little needle to find the right path to come out here. And so what I'm going to do, it worked when I was trying to get it out the other end. I'm going to stick my needles in there to open up the correct way, and then try to get it to follow. Did I say needles? I meant scissors. Sorry. Try to follow the scissors. Well, I got it out. All right, so now I've got this first string, I've got it through this side of the casing. Now I need to run it through the other side, maintaining its loop and keeping its 2 blunt ends together. So I'm going to, now if I had, what did that girl call it? Cord threader or something, it'd be easier, but I don't have the correct implement for that. So, and if I were going to make 100 of these, I'd probably buy one, but I don't sew often enough to need stuff like that. I wonder if it will find the way. Ha! It did! Look at that. Okay. So this one, now you could do this, but if you really want it to work well, you've got to have the second one, which will go in the opposite direction. Its 2 ends are going to come out this way. Okay, so I'll do that and then I'll show you how the drawstring works. Okie dokie, I think I mastered it. Ah, like you pull them both and it does that. That's nice. How long this yarn will last? Well, I wish I had twine. We'll see. I don't think I'm going to be that rough on it. This one will be for me. Oh, the thing I like the most about this is that you, I was looking at inside seam going, you can turn it like this and the lining fabric shows. That's just so pretty. Maybe I need a bigger fabric selection so that I have more liners. What do you think? I've got a local thrift store that has tons of fabric, all little pieces, you know, 1.5 yards, 2 yards. All right, there's my first. This is really my first little project bag that I've made. I hate carrying projects around in Walmart bags, you know, plastic bags. That's just so awful, and I have a lot of plastic bags in here. And I would love to have little project bags that look like this. Don't you think? Thank you so much for joining me today. It's been a pleasure, and I'll see you next time on My Own Little House.